Hi yogis, Nin from Yin Yoga here. Today we have a Yin Yoga practice. Now typically with Yin Yoga you stay in the pose for 3 to 5 minutes, and that's to deepen the stretch and to get really into the tissue of the muscles. For Yin you don't really need any props, but I always say have some on hand in case you need support in your practice. Now I've got a bolster here and some blocks, but you could substitute those with cushions or books, anything to really help support you. This practice is going to focus specifically on opening up the hips, so we'll have some quad stretches, some pelvic stretches, and some stretches for the IT band as well. So with that said, come into your mat and let's get started. We're going to begin today in extended child's pose. So open up the knees to the side and walk forward with your hands and come down with your forehead to the mat. And we're just going to stay here for about 2 minutes, just collecting ourselves and feeling ourselves stretch into the hips. So ideally here you should be bringing your tailbone back towards the shorter end of your mat. Have your toes touching and just trying to be pushing down again with your tailbone and stretching out the spine, and you should feel yourself sinking into the thighs. And we're just going to stay here for a while and let ourselves settle in. Keep pushing down with your tailbone and let your shoulder blades sink towards the mat. Inhale, exhale. And from here, begin to walk your arms back towards the mat, in towards the center, and just come up into tabletop pose briefly. So, your wrists are below your shoulders and your knees are beneath your hips, and just circle round. Just get the blood going in the spine. Maybe back the other way. If you feel the clicking, that's totally normal. And then come to the front of your mat. I'm just going to face you, but you can face any way you like. We're going to come into our first yin posture, which is called shoelace pose. Now to do this, bring your feet out in front of you and bring your right foot towards your left hip so that it should be just next to it. And then tuck your left foot under your right hip. And you should aim to have the knees sort of stacked upon each other like this. And if you like, this is where you can bring your bolster or your blocks in. So here, you might want to, now what you might need to do just before you go more deeply into the pose is have your blocks quite high and lean your head on it like this. Or maybe you can go a bit lower. Maybe you can bring your hands down onto the blocks like this just to give yourself a bit more support. Or maybe you can bring your bolster. Now I like to do this one and just have it like this so that you're leaning into it. It's always a good idea in Yin Yoga to start with something that makes you comfortable rather than start completely in a position that stretches you to your limit, because we're going to be in this pose and these poses for a bit longer than we normally would be. So it's important you can sustain the stretch throughout and maybe get lower as you go along. So you might be able to remove the bolster after a short while. And tilt your forehead forward over your knees. Shoelace pose. And slowly from here, begin to bring your forehead up so that you're straightening your spine. Bringing your palms down to the mat for support. And then just uncross the legs, and you should feel a difference between the two sides. Your feet. And now we're going to do that shoelace pose on the other side, so using the same principles before, but this time bringing your left foot round to your right hip first, and then bringing your right foot over towards your left hip, and we'll just do this on the other side. So again, it might feel completely different and you might want to adjust how you get support. So for me, I begin with the bolster and just lean into it. But feel free to use blocks wherever you need support. And then work your way down further into the position. Breathing in and out. Breathing into the areas of tension. And as you relax into the pose, you might want to remove the blocks and maybe the bolster. And bring your forehead down towards the mat in front of you. And from here, just begin to bring your forehead up so that you can straighten your spine. Uncross the legs. Just put them in front of you and just do a windshield wiper mode with them, just to get some blood going around them. And then from here, we're going to come into what we call a reclined pigeon pose. So for this, I want you to come down onto your mat. Just center yourself here. And then bringing your right foot over your left thigh. And bring your left knee towards your chest. And maybe, if it's available, you can grab hold of that left knee. Just hold on to it. And then slowly bring your left foot down to the mat. Now we're going to do another pose here that's really good for the IT band. So what I'd like you to do is keep your right foot where it is over the left thigh, excuse me, and then just tilt over towards the left. And you should begin to feel a really nice deep stretch through the IT band. And if you want to just make sure that you've got this position, I always like with my left hand to grab my right ankle and always try and push your right knee away from you. Don't push it so physically it hurts, just keep it dropping away from you. And then that might be enough, but if you want to take it a little bit further, look over your right shoulder to feel the full effects of the twist. Breathing in. Now your IT band is connected to your hips and ultimately stretches down all the way to your legs. So it's really important to keep this exercised. And from here, just come towards the center a bit and then just let your legs just completely drop towards the left. Bring your arms up into a cactus shape pose so that your knees fall down to the left, and then look over your right shoulder, and we'll take a twisted roots pose. I'm just going to stay here for another 3 minutes. Slowly come back, bringing your knees back to the center, unravel your legs. And maybe just bring your knees up to your chest and circle them round before we take that to the other side. Now from here, bringing your right foot down to the mat, and then bring your left leg over your right thigh. And then, as we did before, we're going to come into a reclined pigeon pose. So from here, you might want to just stay here. That stretch might be enough. If you like, flex your left foot and bend. Bring your right knee towards the chest. And that might feel totally different on this side, and try to keep your left foot flexed and let your left knee fall out to the side. And we'll just stay here for another minute or so. And then, just as before, bringing this time your left foot down towards the right hand side of the mat. Just shift if you need to, change position in any way. And grab hold, as I always like to do, is grab hold of your left foot and then just let the left knee drop out. And here again, keep the shoulders on the ground. If you can, bring your left arm out beside you and look over your left shoulder and try to keep your right shoulder on the ground. Beautiful. Let's just relax in here for a couple of minutes. Quite an intense stretch, so make sure you just adjust slightly and don't pull the muscle. All we're trying to do here is create space, not create pain. Always trying to make sure that you keep your shoulders on the ground, so bringing your right shoulder, making sure it's not pulling up too much. And breathing one last time into the IT band. And exhale. And then bring your arms into a cactus position. We're just going to bring our knees down completely towards the right hand side. And just scoot your hips over towards the left if you need to. And then look over your left shoulder as we twist and find space in our obliques. Again, stretching down through our thighs, which are connected to the hips. Sink into this position. Taking a final breath here before bring our head to the center, uncross our legs and bring our knees back, and just feel your way, feel what's ever intuitive here in order to release any tension or reverse any of the effects of your long stretches. Before we come into our happy baby pose, so just center yourself here and then bring your knees towards your armpits. Straighten up your legs and grab hold of your feet either side and just bringing your knees towards your elbows, your armpits, sorry. Your elbows should be rested in your shins. Supporting the stretch and opening up the hips. And if you like, because this is a Yin Yoga class, you might want to straighten out your legs and just keep a hold of your feet so that you've got an extra stretch here in the hamstrings. I'm not going to be in this pose for quite as long, but it's really important to do because it really opens up the hips. Provides that final supporting deep stretch. And then bringing your feet together and releasing your feet, bringing your knees back towards your chest. And then we're going to come into our final resting Savasana pose. So just let your feet drop out to the side. Open your palms towards the ceiling and just feel the effects of that wonderful stretch all over your hips and all all the supporting muscles. Breathe here. Sink down into the mat and just be aware of the difference it's made to do those stretches today. And if you're sat at a desk or anything, you'll feel the difference immediately. It's really important to keep practicing so that space is maintained. Flexible. So take a breath in here, deep breath. Breathe into the hips, breathe into the pelvis, breathe into the IT band, breathe into the quads, and exhale. Slowly bringing your knees towards your chest and do a few circles here. And maybe circle back the other way. Bringing your feet down to the mat. And then just come down with your knees towards the side, either side, whatever's comfortable. And come back. Up where we began, in easy pose. And loop the shoulders round. Maybe lift them up, drop them again. Straighten the spine, bring our palms together, bring our thumbs to our forehead. And we bow and say Namaste. Namaste. Thank you so much for that, yogis. I really hope you feel stretched out in your hips and all the supporting muscles around it. If you like what you see or saw even, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or check out any of my other videos. I've got a whole range or a library of them coming out weekly, and offer any comments on things you may like to see. I wish you a good day and see you soon. Namaste.